Hello, I'm Shelbie Berger, and this is my Module 2, Becoming an Online Teacher screencast. Quick intro about me. I'm pursuing a Master's in Education in Assessment, Curriculum, and Teaching with a STEM concentration. I am hoping to become a math instructional coach in the future, and I'm hoping that this major will help me do that. I attended Westchester University and received my bachelor's degree in early grades education in 2014, and I'm also now certified in grades 4 through 8. This is my 7th year teaching at Prima Charter School in Philadelphia, and it's my first year teaching 3rd grade. For the past 5 years, I've taught 2nd grade. My first year, I taught middle school. My fiance Paul and I bought our house exactly a year ago in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, and we live here with our 2 cats, Ringo and George. I'm more of a dog person. They were his family cats, and as you can tell, Paul, Ringo, and George, his parents were big Beatles fans, and we are as well. But yeah, so they're living with us for now. I enjoy hiking, working out, going to concerts, listening to music, and playing softball. All right, so prior to this program, I actually never had any online learning experiences. So there's the first program I'm doing fully online or online at all, and I love the fact that I'm able to create my own schedule. It definitely does make it difficult to build relationships with with classmates, but luckily we do have some opportunities to get to know each other a little bit and talk on the discussion posts and everything like that. It also kind of gave me the perspective of online teaching from a student point of view, so that was helpful when we were teaching online. So we taught March of 2020 all the way through June of last year, so we did it for the full day. I think my major area of difficulty teaching online was the English language arts curriculum because we got a brand new curriculum last year, like the year that we were teaching fully online. So we never had the opportunity to teach it in school, and we never had the opportunity to play around with it, get to know it, and it was just really difficult teaching it online for the first time. I was able to teach math without much of a problem because I've had the curriculum for many years, and also our math program actually embraced online learning and gave us a lot of online resources like videos and online quizzes, and and tests, and we could see the data just laid out with our class, and it actually made it a pretty easy transition to online for math. Time management was definitely something to get used to. I will talk a little bit about that later, but managing my time was very overwhelming when we first started working online, and it did become easier, but it was still pretty difficult all throughout. So obviously, I'm sure it was for everyone. It was a really big adjustment teaching and learning online. So, from the online teaching skills mentioned by Moskowitz, I think that my online communication was pretty strong. I would be in very frequent communication with my students as well as my students' parents. We would email, and even my 2nd graders would start emailing me, even if they had a question after school. So that was really cool because my 2nd graders, I don't even think knew what email was before. Um, we would talk in class dojo. We would talk to each other in the chat a lot. Obviously, we would talk, one-on-one as well. We also had office hours after school, so each student had 10, 20 minutes where they could come in, ask me any questions. We could work on any skills, and that was a good way to communicate. As mentioned in the cyber teacher video, just like how they had a lot of instructional videos, I also created some instructional videos for just the basic skills of online learning. Some skills I am still continuing to develop are and sorry, I skipped one. As mentioned before, the content and subject area knowledge, I was doing pretty well with math, didn't have much of a problem there. And then my technology skills didn't really get in the way. I was able to work all of the online platforms that we were told about and that we learned about, and I was able to kind of explore them on my own. And it was very convenient that I was able to kind of learn all of them pretty easily because then I could teach my students and I could share some of those videos as mentioned. So continuing to develop the content subject area knowledge for ELA, as I mentioned. And I think if I had prior online experience, that would have really helped me for all of these skills that I am discussing. You know, it would have helped with the pacing. I would have had a better idea of how it should be paced online. It would have helped with keeping students engaged throughout the entire day, keeping the lessons engaging. And I would be able to better anticipate problem areas because I would have a better idea of the students' perspectives. It was very difficult trying to anticipate what a student might have difficulties with. You know, content wise, I was able to do that, but things that came along with technology, I did my best to do it, but it could have been just something, just a simple step that I knew just from using technology often. If my students didn't use this, even Google, like any Google platforms, often I would have to teach them things that I didn't even realize they didn't already know. As for time management, it definitely was challenging. I created all the content pretty much that they did online, so it took a lot of time. Um, I had to sift through and figure out what content was necessary and what content could maybe be shortened or maybe that I didn't have to create something new for. Um, it also, as I mentioned, would have helped with determining, I had difficulties determining the pacing. And, you know, even though I know the pacing, I have a pacing guide and I know the scope and sequence in the classroom, it was sometimes different online. And finally, tailoring lessons to student needs. Unfortunately, I don't think that that was one of my strong skills online. I think that I do pride myself in that in the classroom. I go up to my students' desk, and if I think that they need something different, I can help them out. I can give them like a number line or a toy clock or manipulatives, whereas online I didn't feel that I could do that quite as easily. Um, so I do think that if I had asked for student feedback more often, that could have helped. With my students being so young, I don't know how helpful it would have been, but I definitely don't think I did it enough. And the ability to give quick one-on-one and small group mini lessons in the classroom, it comes kind of naturally, but online I had to plan for it, and if I didn't plan for it and then mid-lesson I realized that a student needed it, I really had difficulties kind of figuring out what to do with the students that didn't need the help at that moment. So the qualities from Moscow's article, online versus face-to-face teaching, I think that the dedication and motivation aspect is pretty similar in online and face-to-face, as well as passion and patience. I think if you lack any of those things online or in or face-to-face, I think that it would be very difficult to be successful and effective. The flexibility I think is different because online you needed to, if there was a program malfunction, you had to completely change your lesson. Same with organization. A big thing that was mentioned was due dates, and I was not as strict about due dates as I was in the past, so that made it difficult to keep my grading organized as well as the lessons that I was able to move on to. Establishing clear expectations and support. Again, that comes kind of naturally in the classroom, but online it didn't. I definitely did make it a point to establish expectations at the beginning of the school year and how they could ask for support, but if they didn't ask for that support, I didn't necessarily know how to go out of my way to give them the support they needed because if they didn't ask for it, I didn't always see that they needed it. As for the roles of cyber teachers, I thought it was amazing that she said there's 100% participation. So they're constantly keeping track. They can just see with like a smiley face or a check mark or the initial next to their work. Whereas in class, we don't always have 100% participation. Obviously, we want it, but there's always a group of students who they might not be participating as much as you'd want, and you can't see just that little smiley emoji pop up next to their name. Recording videos and lessons is a big bonus of online teaching. Obviously, that's different from in the classroom. Like the teacher mentioned how for simplifying fractions, you can just record a lesson on how to do it and then just kind of send them the video. Now, I mean, I can do that now and post it online so that they have it at night. But you're not going to videotape the live lesson like you could do on an online classroom. And they said discipline problems are non-existent. So obviously that is a very big difference with online teaching than face-to-face teaching. Face-to-face teaching, it's very rare if discipline problems are non-existent. They may not be frequent, but they're going to be there in some way, shape, or form. As for what I think the biggest challenge of an online teacher for me, that was mentioned in that article, it would be the course content and how it was pretty outlined for them and they didn't have much flexibility. So it said that there were errors within the course that must be fixed by a third party, and that just would drive me bonkers because if something needs to be fixed, I just want to fix it right away, and I don't want to have to worry about telling anyone about it and just fix it myself so that it can be efficient. And it just sounds really inefficient to have to send it out, have it be fixed, and then have it come back, and you just wasted a lot of time. That goes along with not being able to create anything as well. I am constantly recreating things to make them look better or be clearer or be more outlined for my students. And I think if I didn't have the freedom to create anything, I would have a really challenging time, and I think my students would as well, because sometimes the curriculum isn't written in the clearest way. And same thing with having very little freedom and being unable to revise and modify anything. As mentioned before, I'm always changing things to make them look better or be more explanatory to my students. I pretty much I try to tailor my materials to my students' needs. And if I'm unable to do that, I think that I would have a very difficult time accepting it, and I think my students would have a difficult time completing some of the work. All right, thank you.